The story is that she has a 6-day flight and they pull her into a room and they say, okay, so we've packed you 100 tampons. Is that the right number of tampons? And Sally says, no, that would not be the right number of tampons, which I love.
Welcome to Bitch Talk. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm co-host Ange, a.k.a. Captain Party.
And for more than 11 years, the show has celebrated underrepresented voices in pop culture and beyond.
But not in the snore kind of way, which is why our listeners and followers have graciously voted us Best of the Bay, Best Podcast on 48 Hills for 3 years in a row. Three-peat, bitches.
If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram and check out our website, Bitch Talk Podcast, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're begging you to judge us. When does that ever happen? Oh, you're not going to say anything?
What would I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, on with the show. Clink. What's up, Bitch Talkers? Thank you for tuning into this interview about the documentary Sally. Sally officially premiered on National Geographic, so you can stream it through National Geographic, but it's also available on Disney Plus and Hulu. We're really proud to celebrate Pride Month with the premiere of this documentary about the pioneering, groundbreaking Sally ride. Okay, we are at SF Film, very excited to talk about this documentary that we've been trying to have on since Sundance. It's called Sally, and we're sitting down with the director, producer, and writer, Cristina Costantini. Welcome back to Bitch Talk.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here again.
It's been 5 years.
5 long, arduous years.
Since we had, right before the pandemic.
Yeah, we were
saw
celebrating in 2020.
with all the germs.
We're like, maybe the epicenter. Who knows?
Super spreading.
Yeah.
For your film Mucho Mucho Amor, which we loved.
Yeah.
But Sally is a very different film. So why don't you introduce our audience to what this documentary is about?
Yeah, so Sally Ride is about Sally Ride, the first American woman in space. And I was a huge fan of Sally's as a kid. And then I learned in 2012 with the rest of the world that she was survived by a female life partner. And I thought, if NASA was barely ready for women, I'm sure they wouldn't have been ready for this. And so what would that have been like? And I wanted to tell the story of who this American hero really was and the complexities that she was dealing with under the surface while she was, fighting her way to be the first woman in space, the first American woman in space. And it has been an incredible journey. And the real, I think, star of the film is called Sally, but I think the real star of the film is Tam O'Shaughnessy, her female life partner, who tells this romantic, difficult, complicated story. It was a real privilege to be able to get to know Tam and make this film with her.
And I read in the bio, you have been a fan. In 3rd grade, you helped paint a mural at your school, which brought me back to when I was in elementary school, and that's what you did. You painted murals. So cool. Yeah. Ours was not a Sally Ride. That would have been cooler.
I guess you went to public school. Nobody was letting us paint in Catholic school.
Anyway,
public school.
I went to public school.
Must have been nice.
Yeah. So
anyway,
sorry.
Go on. It's not about me.
But I love that story, and that now you're showing the world a documentary about her life. So can you talk a little bit about that path and how it came to you?
I think so the assignment of the mural, every kid got to paint a person, and it was supposed to be someone from pop culture who you admired. So she's surrounded by Michael Jordan and Brett Favre and Dilbert and pop stars. So a lot of pop stars and I think I was the only one nerdy enough to be like, my hero is this astronaut. But I think it was very simple. It was just, she was a girl going to I was a girl. She could go to space. If she could go to space, maybe I could do big things. And so that was cool to me as a kid. And then as an adult, I learned more about her, and I watched interviews with her, and she handled herself so brilliantly in all of these very difficult interviews, where people were asking her the most offensive questions you could imagine. And then, learning about her complexity as an adult became more interesting to me. I've always wondered, like, who are our heroes, actually. We have a very hetero history. Everybody throughout our history books is straight, which guess what, they're not. And so that was interesting to me to tell the story of a queer hero. But then I also am fascinated by, who are behind all of these heroes, like who are, oftentimes our heroes are hurting the people closest to them for the benefit of people they'll never ever meet. And I think that was the case with Sally. She thought that being out and proud at that time would have completely damaged her legacy and damaged the legacy of, who knows, NASA, women, whatever it is. So this what was secret couldn't have been told at the time, and she would have never been first if she had been out. And so I wanted to complicate this hero and tell a more nuanced story, and also tell a full story of who Sally was. I didn't want to tell this like perfect sanitized version of a hero. She made mistakes. She hurt people. She was not perfect. She did things that might have been sabotage, might have been jokes. There are these parts of the film where we get into the complexity of her as a character. So it was a real privilege to be able to work and get to know Tam, who's really a godsend to a documentary filmmaker. She's brilliant, for one, incredible memory, great storyteller. Her level of detail and memory is amazing, and most of all, she's brave, and she wants to tell a complicated, nuanced portrait of this person. She doesn't want. A lot of times when someone dies, we want to say they were perfect in every way, and we see this with our families. I think a lot. They never did anything wrong, and I think Tam wants people to know that Sally was complicated, and I think she understands that actually makes her much more relatable and much more human to the rest of us. So. It was an incredible process making this film about, it's different than all my other films. It's much more emotional, and I felt a great responsibility to tell this very personal story in a nuanced way.
So what was your impetus for this film? Did something happen and you were like, now's the time to tell Sally's story? Or did you have an in with Tam? Like, how does all of this even come to be?
Yeah, as a documentary filmmaker, you're always kind of thinking like, could that be a good story? Does it have all of the elements? Do I have for me, it's always what's my personal reason? Why do I have to tell this story? Like, what is it about this that makes it my story to want to tell? And she's in the zeitgeist. She's around, the corridor. She's on a stamp. So I've been seeing her throughout the years. And I think it was really actually funny. I've never talked about this, but over the pandemic, there was this like really funny bit that this comedian did, which was telling this story about what the NASA rocket scientist tried to send Sally up to space with. I don't know if you know this story, but it was a story I had known, but seen it presented by multiple comedians. Really, it all kind of clicked, I think, watching it. Oftentimes comedy makes things click for me. And so, the story is that she has the 6-day flight and they pull her into a room and they say, okay, so we've packed you 100 tampons. Is that the right number of tampons? And Sally says, no, that would not be the right number of tampons, which I love. And so that story was really my entry point, because I was like, it's so perfect. It's the perfect story. Even these rocket scientists who can figure out the most complex astrophysical ideas cannot just figure out how the female menstruation system works. They can't ask their girlfriends or their wives. They can't even talk about it with them.
Right.
Like they've got this so wrong 100. It's just the perfect story to me. So that was kind of an entry point, and then I started rewatching all of these videos of her interviews and then I emailed National Geographic, and something must have been in the water because there was another team of documentary filmmakers, Story Syndicate, who had reached out to Tam and actually gotten access to Tam and Sally's story. And it was, so National Geographic kind of put us all together, and we ended up making the film together. And it was
That's Liz Garbus, right?
Yeah,
Liz.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
We love Liz.
Yeah.
We've had her on
We've
a
had
few
her on
times.
as well.
Amazing. Yeah. Incredible filmmaker.
Yes.
But this was, so I worked with Story Syndicate on this film, and it was, Tam is incredible. And really unlocking Tam, I mean, Tam is, when I met Tam, I was like, okay, I think this film might work because she has all of those different factors that you need to be in a storyteller, which is rare for a filmmaker.
You mentioned the tampon thing, and I have it here just in my notes. Like the montage of the tampons was like one of my favorite things.
Thank you. It's crazy, right?
I just am like, I would love to just have that montage
Yeah.
somewhere. I don't know where.
On our website? Can we use it?
on our
Yes,
website.
please, take
at
it,
the bar
use it.
I work at, like at night. Like my owner would love it. But that's hilarious. Like I feel like that should be in something else. I don't know.
I mean, that makeup kit, there's also a
And
makeup.
the makeup, yes.
kit. Oh,
That's
of
a
course.
real picture from the archives of a makeup kit that the rocket scientists made during that era. It's like they have like labeled the different shades of mauve and blush. I mean, but honestly, with Blue Origin stuff now, it's not so ridiculous.
Well,
like
we haven't even. I mean, so topical.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways.
It's a very different kind of purpose of going to space.
I mean, it's like, what would Sally say?
I mean, Sally would be distraught. I think Sally, or she would find it hilarious. But I mean, to me, like Sally's whole life project was to prove that women are so dependable that they can be in space and should be in space. Jeff Bezos' whole project is to prove that his rocket is so dependable that even women could go to space.
Yeah,
and that's like that's a completely different. You know, they're talking about their eyelash extensions and shrieking on the way down, and like, it was just I do not think Sally would be a huge fan.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a case of like forward technology bringing us back in time.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that actually moved
But
us.
it's on brand of what's going on in the world.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, how could this be so off base? Like just so out of touch.
I know.
Anyways.
It's wild. Sorry, it's on my mind.
No,
a lot
it's not.
these
'Cause
days.
I just thought of that before we started the interview. I was like, oh yeah, that happened this week.
Yeah.
And just the obnoxiousness of it all,
know.
like getting out and the whole thing was so
know.
embarrassing.
It's real cringe.
Well, Sally also like did not like attention, did not
Exactly.
like herself being the center of anything, and it felt like many of those. They're now calling themselves astronauts. Those astronauts clearly do love attention. You can tell.
Well, it was about
Correct.
the clicks, right? Yeah. So you are talking a lot about Tam, and I love Tam too.
Yeah.
Like she's a real force and has had her own life, an incredible life. But I did read through the notes too, and as you're watching it, there are things that you have to improvise. So can you talk about thinking about that as a filmmaker and a documentarian and how to create those scenes?
Oh yeah, so I think you're referring to the visual sequences that we shot. Yeah,
The date nights and I
so we
loved it.
wanted the film to be, this story of this very personal, intimate love story. So the film's two films in one. It's this like very public space journey that was incredibly well documented. NASA was very proud to have women and people of color in their astronaut corps at that time.
And so Orientals. Sorry, I was like, I know. It's okay. It's okay. It's the 70s. It's fine. Anyways, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
So funny. I know. But they are very proud of their... so they documented it very well. And so we had, 5,000 reels of footage to go through that we brought into our system to kind of tell that story. And then we had a very private story, on the other hand, that there is truly no documentation of. We have like 5 or 6 pictures of Sally and Tam together, and because they didn't take pictures together, and that was really tough as a filmmaker in a visual medium to tell a story, a intimate, beautiful love story without the presence of any visual materials. So we ended up filming on 16 millimeter, kind of all of these sequences that told this more intimate story from the time that they met as young girls on the tennis court and like joked with each other and found each other charming and fun and became friends, and then then we followed that kind of relationship as it developed in these visual sequences. And they're all narrated by Tam, and so they're all Tam's version of this unfolding. But yeah, they are, to me, the key in kind of building the romance and the feeling of being in love and the feeling of having a secret. And most of the film team was queer. And great documentary filmmakers, Lauren Chaffee, Tom Maroney, and we had these conversations a lot that oftentimes in documentary, gay love story straight love stories can be romantic and sexy and all these things, and oftentimes gay love stories are like, oh, aren't they brave? And I didn't want it to be that kind of film. It was just like a sanitized, aren't they brave? But like no sexy, no romantic feelings are kind of brought forth. And so we wanted to do something that was sexy and romantic and give them that kind of the more physical part of a romance as it develops. So that's what those sequences were. And I've never shot on film before, and it's more nerve-wracking than I'll tell you that much than these lovely digital technologies.
There's a lot of pressure.
We have now.
Yeah, exactly.
You get it. You're not quite sure if you're getting it the way you think you're getting it. Like it's not. Yeah,
and it's expensive.
It's expensive. You can't really mess up. So that was.
You did great.
Oh, thank you so much.
I loved that part.
And it really was a good counterbalance to the starkness of her outside world that was very curated, right?
Thank you. Yeah, we wanted it to feel much warmer than the NASA footage is a lot of blues and grays, and the love story is a lot is oranges and reds and warmer tones. So,
well, I couldn't help but think of because Sally was obviously living her purpose on this earth. She was meant to go to space and be this NASA scientist, but she never wanted the glory, as we were saying. And I feel like that's sort of a dying breed of people who they're really just doing what they're passionate about, but they don't want to be front-facing. Now it's all about influencers, TikTok follower, all this bullshit, but no substance. Yeah. And I hate to think about it, but it feels like Sally is sort of part of a dying breed. I
totally agree. I mean, everybody. Yeah, I don't think she would love the social media landscape. I don't think she would love. She would hate Instagram and TikTok and all these things. I mean, Tam has said that to me. But she did not want the attention. She did not want the celebrity of it all. I'm not quite sure she totally understood what she was getting into. She's competitive, and she loves the fact that she was first, is what her family and Tam say. But I don't think she loved everything that came with it. Eventually, later in life, I think she got more comfortable with it, and you see that she is able to decide how she uses her celebrity, and she chose to use her celebrity to promote women in STEM and science education for girls. And at that point, she started like wearing her jumpsuit again and coming out and shaking hands. She's always loved kids, and so I think she was happy to step into that role when she was able to control what it meant. But I think right after the flight, she was being used by everybody else for whatever they wanted to promote. So Ronald Reagan would have her over, and Bob Hope wanted her on his show, and like he was incredibly sexist, and so she did not want to be part of that. But there were a lot of stories like that. Everybody wanted a piece of Sally for their own purposes, and that made her very uncomfortable.
Were you surprised by the people that she kept around her, like Billie Jean King and Gloria Steinem? No big deal. Just like all of a sudden they were just at these places and with her, and it was no big deal.
I mean, Sally had, and I'm so lucky, Sally has the coolest friends. Yeah. And Chaffee and I talk about this, the producer, all the time. Like, thank God Sally hung out with such cool people, because it has meant the last few years of our lives we've been traveling around the country just meeting cool people who've done cool things. And no, I mean, Tam is amazing. Lynn Shure is amazing. All of those astronauts are so fun. So many, like, Kathy Sullivan, somebody told me before I met Kathy, like she speaks the way you wish you could write, which I think is like really perfect. I wish I spoke more like Kathy. Just these brilliant women to be around them and to see what they've done. I mean, Billie Jean King, obviously. Billie was so fun.
What color glasses would you? No.
Red.
Yes. What is she wearing?
She's amazing. Oh, she brought this whole
I would love to see her wall of glasses.
She brought this whole like little kit with her, and she was like, okay, what color is the set gonna be? What color you want me in? Okay, and then she like coordinated. Okay, the chair is red. I'll wear my red glasses, and I was like, that's so badass to have your home like.
She's a force.
Yeah, I mean, and just super quick, super fun. She's also like a professional. Like she knows how to be a celebrity. When we showed up, she was like, okay, everybody, I want to take a selfie with all of you together, which to me was like a brilliant way to like everybody wants a picture with Billie, I'm sure. But also that she doesn't have to take a million pictures with everybody. She can take them all at the same time. So I was like, this woman has been a celebrity for decades. So
it's cool. Like sort of the opposite of Sally, where she's like been front facing and like owning it. Like, okay, I'll be here at the forefront, and
exactly
the whole time.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of burden to carry, but she's still with grace.
Yeah, and Sally and Billie were actually. Sally met Billie when she was a teenager, and Billie had just won this huge tennis award, and it was her hero, and so they played doubles together, and then Sally Ride became Sally Ride, and which made Billie's public outing even more painful and likely pushed her farther into the closet. And Sally got married to a man a year later after Billie's public outing. So the timing is crazy.
Well, next time you see Billie, maybe let her know some bitches she might want to meet.
San Francisco. Amazing. Yeah, you guys haven't talked to her yet.
No, she needs to be on Bitch Talk.
She's we're putting it out there into the universe.
Manifesting.
Definitely.
But Cristina, we have to let you go. But thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for.
Are we done already?
Unfortunately,
gosh,
but thank you for sharing this really. Beautiful story of someone we thought we knew, but we really only knew the half of it.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
This is really special.
Such an honor.
Next time.
I'm
sure you have another film cooking up somewhere.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I hope you do. We love your work.
I do.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us on today's show. You can find more information about this episode in our show notes.
If you're missing us, you can visit us at bitchtalkpodcast.com to sign up for our newsletter and buy us a cup of coffee.
Did you know we're also on the radio? You can find us at bff.fm.
And lastly, rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. All the cool bitches are doing it.